Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can we kindly move to our seats? Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Can I please have your attention, please? I would like to welcome all of you this morning, Transport Forum, 5th of March, 2026. What we're going to do is we're going to start giving recognition to the sponsors of this platform, and then thereafter we will start with the formal proceedings in terms of the content. So, ladies and gents, my name is Harry. Been involved with the Transport Forum today, 20 years. Today is the Transport Forum's birthday, 20 years. So thank you. Let's give the Transport Forum a hand. And we actually started the Transport Forum a few years earlier than that, but the original intent wasn't to be the format it is today. It was originally just an internal platform in an organization to better understand transport and so on. And then other companies heard about this platform and they started joining in what we are doing. And then the media, like the excellent Liesel Venter journalists, started joining in. And before we knew it, we realized that we're doing something right. And so in March 2007, we established a brand and we launched a website, and that is today, 20 years ago. So thank you for joining in on that very special day today. Renko, I didn't even tell you this, today the Transport Forum's birthday, 20 years. So it's a very special event for us, yes. Ladies and gents, just a little bit of housekeeping. Some of you might have noticed, walking straight down that passage, you'll see the restrooms, quite easy to get. We're doing this in a hybrid fashion, so we've got a lot of people on Zoom participating. Later on in discussions, they will be able to participate and ask questions, and we should hear and see them. We've also got people on YouTube. So you guys on YouTube, especially you guys on Zoom, please stay on mute so that we don't have all those background noises. I remember in COVID time when we started Zooming this stuff, it took about half an hour education for everybody to get the Zoom going. So fortunately now we all know what's going on and how it works. So ladies and gents, today we proudly hosted by CtrlFleet. Renko and team, thank you very much for supporting this Transport Forum. CtrlFleet is one of our important gold sponsors with the Transport Forum. Might have noticed that all our events for the past 20 years have been free of charge attendance. All the related content on the web is for free. That's why this forum became such a powerful platform. We're known as one of the most powerful platforms of communication in transport in South Africa. And reason being is everybody is allowed to attend for free. There's no red tape. We have 50% sort of government, 50% private sector. We're bringing important decision makers under one roof on different spheres in the industry. So the Trans Forum was blessed, just growing and growing through these years. I remember the first time, just a little bit nostalgia because it's our birthday. I remember one day I went to a colleague of mine. I said to him, you know what? I've got 100 people on my database in the Transport Forum. Isn't that great? And he said to me, yeah, congratulations, 100 people. All right, today the database is about 24,000 people. And active inboxes at least about 13,000 per week. So there's this venue trying to call me. Okay. So I'll be trying to get somebody to fix the resolution of these TVs. Ladies and gents, so having a complementary platform, obviously there's somebody sponsoring this. We've got formal associates, industry bodies out there that's actually paying the Transport Forum to be associated with this brand. And then we've got different levels of sponsorships, and the most popular one is gold sponsors. And give me opportunity quickly to give you some feedback on the sponsors, who they are. At the end of today's program, I'm not going to introduce you now to the program because Renko is going to act as MC for us and he will take us through the program. So as soon as possible, we're going to hand you over to Renko. But if we have a look at our sponsorships, you can see the top block there. There are industry associations. Below them, we've got formal media houses who signed up with the Transport Forum as formal media partners. And then below that, all our gold sponsors. So if we could look at our media houses, let's quickly have a look at them. We've got the South African Association of Freight Forwarders.
What does it take to compete on the world stage? To go head to head with the best of the best? Excellence, agility, resilience, the willingness to keep on evolving. It takes courageous leadership to be bold and chart the course, to connect the dots, bringing stakeholders together, to overcome the hurdles we all face, and to deliver best practice. It's about business at the click of a button, delivering at the speed of the internet, connecting people, products, and places, strengthening our supply chains, faster and more cost-effective than ever. Since 1921, we've given voice and vision to the freight forwarding industry, navigating the tides of international trade, evolving ever more sophisticated supply chains, bridging local and global markets to move our economy forward. Welcome to our world. The South African Association of Freight Forwarders, architects of transport for over a century.
Thank you, Saul, for your support. We really appreciate that. We also got the Multimodal Inland Port Association. We've got the African Rail Industry Association. Also got the South African Express Parcel Association, represent the body and voice of express delivery in South Africa. Got the South African Bus Operators Association. They obviously representing the bus and the coach industry, also many years part of the Transport Forum. We've got the Road Freight Association. They say without trucks, South Africa stops. Nikki Scott with the Safest Stops Association, uniting minds, sharing vision and resources, uplifting well-being, boosting road safety for South Africa's commercial drivers. And we also got the International Women in Transport Association. Media houses with us are Freight News, Railways Africa Engineering News and Focus. So South Africa's Freight News by FTW is news and features for import and export decision makers. Obviously, it will make a lot of sense for you guys to subscribe to these magazines. Excellent value, daily reports and industry news. So you're missing out big time if you haven't got information from these magazines. The other one is Railways Africa magazine. It's the African continent specialist trade, technical business to business, online publication covering all aspects of the rail sector. Focus on transport and logistics. They say the one of the oldest and leading transport magazine. Focus on transport and logistics. And we've got Prima Media Engineering News, premier source of real economy news. Excellent magazine as well. So getting to our gold sponsors, and the most important one today for us, obviously, is CtrlFleet, our host for today.
At CtrlFleet, innovation is at the heart of every decision we make. We execute like never before. Our features include planning, scheduling, driver application, and our value proposition is continuous value and execution for you. We love logistics and transport operations, our clients, and our aim is to provide them with new age technology, innovate their business, and take them to the future.
Let's give CtrlFleet a hand for hosting us today. Excellent. Right, ladies and gents, the Transport Forum on this stage got one platinum sponsor, which is CTrack. Let's have a look at this video.
Managing a fleet isn't just about tracking vehicles anymore. It's about intelligence, efficiency, and control. Still, who has the time to actually process all that information and make so many decisions? With multiple moving parts and a data overload, it's easy to miss what's important. CTrack's Crystal platform puts you back in control with smart, AI-powered insights. You're not just keeping up, you're staying ahead of the competition by reacting faster and smarter. Whether you manage a handful of vehicles or thousands, Crystal scales with you. From new entrepreneurial ventures to established enterprises, Crystal grows and adapts with your fleet. Because no two fleets are the same, and different industries have different requirements. You can add additional business features as you need them. Like analytics, custom AI scripts, electronic proof of delivery, routing, scheduling, and cameras, our solution offers a strong core with modular optional plugins and AI that works for you. Because having the power to predict and staying ahead isn't just smart, it's a superpower.
Thank you so much, CTrack. Ladies and gents, we've got JC auditors. You know, self-regulation is such an important thing in our industry today to be sustainable. And JC auditors, they're all about certification, compliance, one solution.
Welcome to JC Auditors, your trusted partner in road freight certification solutions. At JCA, we offer a single integrated solution for road freight companies, enabling you to achieve all your compliance and certification requirements. Our focus on the South African national standard, RTMS, ensures your fleet meets the highest standards in safety, efficiency, and sustainability. Promoting vehicle safety and fostering safe driving behavior are keys to RTMS success. With a national presence of a growing footprint in the SADC regions, JCA is your local and regional expert in road transport compliance. Our certificates are SANAS accredited and IAF aligned, so rest assured that JC Auditors certifications are recognized globally. Our team of professional road transport experts brings unparalleled experience and dedication to every client, ensuring your company is always compliant. Having conducted over 10,000 audits in the last 15 years, JCA's expertise is proven, tried, and trusted across the industry. We proudly serve South Africa's leading road freight companies, along with a host of other forward-thinking and ambitious transporters, driving road transport excellence. Join the many satisfied clients who trust JC auditors for their road freight certification needs, including RTMS, ISO 9001, and more. Visit us at www.jcauditors.com and drive your business forward with confidence.
Good JC auditors. We've got also Freeway fleet maintenance software.
Freeway is a powerful digital system for managing fleets and assets, giving you real-time visibility and eliminating paperwork. At its core, Freeway handles maintenance, compliance, and procurement. From job scheduling to defect tracking, purchasing, and stock control, everything is managed from one connected platform. In the workshop, mobile devices replace paperwork. Engineers can request parts, check histories, and everything syncs instantly with our main system, so you know the status and cost of every vehicle, part, and service. Freeway connects seamlessly with your existing systems and supplier platforms, allowing data to flow freely. It's modular, scalable, and always ready for digital reporting needs. With a mobile app for remote management, a booking portal for external users, and built-in analytics to track true costs and performance. Freeway helps you save time, cut waste, and stay fully in control.
Thank you, Freeway. Bird Air Cargo.
In the world of express freight, there's one name that stands above the rest: Bird Air Cargo. Our airport-to-airport line haul service is the backbone of South Africa's express freight industry. At Bird Air Cargo, we don't just deliver cargo. We go the extra mile to ensure a seamless and efficient experience in South Africa. With our unwavering commitment to excellence and improved technology, we handle your cargo with utmost care and deliver it on time, every time. Our dedication to service excellence is what sets us apart. We live by our core values of service excellence, mutual respect, integrity, and accountability. When you choose Bird Air Cargo, you're choosing a partner that takes pride in going above and beyond for your freight needs. From pharmaceuticals to perishable goods, automotive parts to live animal transportation, we handle a diverse range of commodities. Our attention to detail and precision ensure that your cargo arrives in perfect condition, no matter what it is. Our dedicated teams work tirelessly to guarantee the safety and efficient transport of your cargo. We leave no stone unturned to ensure your freight arrives at its destination intact and on time. With our advanced track and trace system, you can monitor your shipments in real time. Stay informed about the whereabouts of your cargo with just a few clicks. Our goal is to provide you with peace of mind and complete transparency throughout the entire journey. We understand that time is of the essence for our valued customers. That's why we offer a user-friendly online portal that simplifies the documentation process. Obtain quotations and create e-labels with ease, saving you valuable time and effort. Whether you have a small package or a large shipment, Bird Air Cargo handles it all with equal care and precision. Our ISO certification is a testament to our commitment to quality and professionalism. We don't just excel in domestic express freight. We also cater to your international cargo needs. No matter the size of your business, whether you're a small enterprise or a multinational corporation, you can trust us to handle your cargo with the same level of dedication and attention to detail. Connect with us today and discover the difference our innovative technology, seamless tracking, and customer-oriented approach will make to your operation. Bird Air Cargo, same-day express every day, overnight express every night.
Thank you, Bird Air Cargo. That's it, gents. We've got University of Johannesburg been involved with us for many years. I just now said our birthday is 20 years. It's actually 19 years. We started informally, 20 years ago, but the brand actually is 19 years, March this year. And University of Johannesburg has been there all these years with us, mentoring, helping, great university, and we really appreciate the work they're doing. We also got Kuba, who's transforming ticketing as part of the ICA Mobility Group, journey planning, smart ticketing, streamlining, electronic payment, shaping the digital transformation of the mobility sector. Standard Bank, Kathy Bell and team also involved in the RTMS, very much involved. You can see over 160 years of experience, been part of the Transport Forum as gold sponsor for many years. We really appreciate Standard Bank. Global Trade Solution, Louise Widget and team. You can see Innovation Solutions, transforming global supply chain, very important, imports and exports, consulting and strategy, software solutions, and specialized services. Another gold sponsor is Zutari. It's obviously consulting engineers of note, also many years of us. And we've got Ticket Pro, the smart tap solution. You can see the smart tap system includes key features like comprehensive route management, flexible passenger payment methods, flexible route and fare product setup, shift and dispatch management, cashier system, inspection tools, and comprehensive management information system report. Thank you, SmartTap. So, ladies and gents, let's give our sponsors a big hand. A reminder, we have the business directory of the Transport Forum. It's a page you can have on the internet, a link to the Transport Forum brands. Everybody can visit your company. We're getting very good feedback about this. We outsource this to Olga Mashilu, Bolang Bontle consultant. She's administrating this business directory for us. Many SME companies also joining in. Not all of them, for example, have a website. So now they can have a page on the web, when you click on their business directory link. So it's a great platform to have your company listed. It's only 450 rands per year. So that's not really money. And all guys can help you to do this. So our website, transportseek.com. We upload all our presentations to this website so that you can download them for free. Hence, we have more than 900 presentations already there presented over the past 19, 20 years. And it's a very, very powerful knowledge base of, I think many of you are already using that. So if you want to access the presentations, if you go to that website, transportseek.com, to the left of the screen, you'll see there's user login. You log in. If you haven't got a login yet, you go to sign up, create your own login script, and it obviously confirms your email so that you don't have hackers. And then after you've logged in, you go to events, downloads, and you get a search engine. Two ways you can search. The top field, you can type in a topic or a person's surname or whatever. You hit search, and it will search through all those 900 presentations, related information, or bring it up for you, and you can download it. Or you can use the bottom field category, which is the date of the event. And you can select that date, and it will bring up all the presentations, and you can download all for free. So, ladies and gents, that brings us now to today's program, Digital Dynamics, the Network Effect. I'm looking forward also to being with you, but the most important person in our lives now is Mr. Renko Berg. He's the Chief Executive Officer, co-founder of CtrlFleet, and he's going to take us further during the day. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's give him a hand.
Yes. Thank you. Welcome warmly to the third edition of Digital Dynamics. Thank you for making the way out to be here in person. This is an annual event co-hosted by CtrlFleet and the Transport Forum. And for us as CtrlFleet, since inception, this is truly a highlight that we have an opportunity to showcase what we stand for. and that is the digitization of the transport space. And this year's theme, the network effect, is one step deeper, that we really just have an opportunity to invite partners and friends and discuss the theme, which is how 1+1 can become 3 when digital players work together and create value for transport operators. Obviously, a day like this happens because of many people. So there's a couple of appreciations just to start off with. The first one, our co-host, Harry. Thank you. Normally, I attend your events in Johannesburg, and I'm always impressed with all the gadgets you have. And this time you had to bring it all down to Cape Town, and you've been here since 5 a.m. So thank you. Thanks for the effort. We truly are proud to be associated with you. It is one of the bodies in the industry that truly holds the transport space top of mind, and that's exactly what we also try and strive for. So thank you, Harry and team. And then from the CtrlFleet team, one of our industry friends, Devlin from Endeavour, this morning he's drinking his coffee and he scanned the QR and he said, "Amazing marketing team you've got here. They all must be working very hard." And I said, you know what, there's only one person that's doing all of this. So Esther, I just wanted to say thank you to you, if you don't mind coming up so everybody can see who does all this effort. Small gesture. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. And then a very special thank you to all of you for being here, coming in person. We know a couple of things about the transport industry. One is that you don't have a lot of time at all. And most of you come within that industry. That's the golden string that we've got you today. Logistics operators and digitization. And the fact that you're here really means a lot. It says a lot. And obviously very conscious about the 80 to 100 plus people that are joining us online across the region. And thank you for making your time and spending that with us this morning. So, like I mentioned, the network effect, we invited partners of CtrlFleet, but really industry leaders when it comes to topics about digitization in this space. And today is an opportunity for them to really come and showcase what and how transport operators need to do, either in whatever life stage they are in their digital roadmap, to get involved, empower their businesses, and execute like never before. But not only that, not to do that in silo, but once they start integrating, once working together, the scale of value really does multiply. So thanks for all the speakers that have made your way here. I know some of you had to fly in for the morning and yesterday already. Thank you very much. And I know you also have many busy schedules, so appreciate you all for being here. Just a quick housekeeping. Don't know if you can see that, but it was also on the entrance slide. So I'm going to set the table for us this morning, just taking a bit of a dipstick about where do we find ourselves in this current state of digitization in the transport sector. And what do we mean when we say the network effect? How does that actually become practical? And then the highlight of today is each of our speakers with the opportunity to unpack how they are doing that in their respective fields, and more importantly, how that starts to flow and work together with the rest. After that, please don't run away. We have got some canapés that will be served. The coffee vendors still going to be here, and we have a beautiful Cape Town day to enjoy. So please stay for that. We are looking forward to just networking with you before the day closes. So let's talk about the network effect. First of all, just setting a base, taking us back to where we are now, currently in what state. I think I'm going to jump in straight into the 2000s when I call it the age of the acronyms started. You've got TMS and WMS and DRM, and all of those were the introduction of what today still is the kingpin of the technology base that we utilize for all the other following evolutions to come, and that's the software. So those acronyms, transport management systems and warehouse systems, were broad-scale adopted and implemented, which soon flowed into the 2000s and up until fairly recently, where we started seeing hardware and software integrating more seamlessly. The IoT effect, the sensors playing their part, and how hardware is not disconnected from software, and how that starts to flow. And where we find ourselves today, which I like to refer to as the perfect positive storm, is the early stages for the road freight sector or the transport space, which is in the fourth industrial revolution. Why do I say perfect positive storm? Obviously, we know the impact COVID had, but one of the positives that came out of that is how the transport space truly were forced to digitize in so many areas where paper-based process flows was still evident and was still dominant. That completely shifted, and we find ourselves in a stage where transport operators need to, want to, and are adopting at a very fast rate. And this is proceeding as we go. Just if you look at some of what the industry leaders are referring to, and I'm quoting, current state within South African logistics, the Logistics News recently published that about 60% of South African operators are appifying operations. That's a large number. If you would ask the statistics even 3 years ago, that figure would have been dramatically lower. We are now in that perfect storm where the adoption of tech is wide and broad scale. One statistic that FTW also brought up, and thanks Liesel for being here, is that from a global perspective, when it comes to transport operations, 71% of organizations are prioritizing digitization from boardroom level all the way through to execution. It is top of mind. It has become the fuel to drive your business. Obviously, there are always challenges when it comes to embracing technology, and especially in the world when we are now. We know of all these things, not going to harp too long on them, but those are some of the tangible things that we are navigating through, which amplifies how technology can assist us even more. Skills shortage, that a gap that we are embracing and have to embrace, the fact that we are more road freight orientated and dominant versus rail, et cetera, that all leads the way for digitization to embrace and take its place in the adoption further. We do, however, find ourselves in quite an uneven adoption. There is still quite a significant difference between larger corporates digitizing and those that we refer to as SMEs. In terms of large corporates, it is not uncommon to see that real-time visibility, track and traces there, automated warehouses. In some places, we call that dark warehouses, where literally the operation can run with very few little human intervention. Obviously, AI, and as we unpack today, you'll hear probably a lot of that too, is playing more and more role, that we are going into more of a predictive environment. And then obviously digital freight platforms, and some of you in the room are representing that, is playing a significant role on how that network effect feeds together. However, a large dominant sector in the transport sphere is that SME group. And for them, digitalization looks dramatically different. In some cases, manual documentation really is still king. And I see a couple of grins around the room, so not too far off the mark there. And maybe the implementation of certain only initial basic elements, like your basic tracking or standalone accounting packages. And the idea of them integrating is not necessarily on the top of the agenda. But these operators are growing. The reliance on road freight is and has never been as center, and those operators are growing and growing, and as they grow, digitalization is top of mind, and what their next step looks like and what their next challenge and opportunity is for us all to play our part as service providers. So just looking at certain of the traditional aspects that are really starting to digitize, some of them, at a more rapid pace than others. We know that if you operate in the transport space, documentation is king. Unfortunately, that is starting to digitize rapidly. We find that the role that the driver plays in the cab is directing to that digitization. We are moving slightly more and more from reactive decision making to proactive. You can only get there if you have the data readily available to make that type of decisions. And then, for example, siloed operations that have now become slowly but surely more integrated. And that not only internally, but the integration that you have between yourself as transport operator and those that you work with, your clearing agent, your client, your warehouse operator. That together is being entwined and integrated more and more. How do we compare to global standards? I think a lot of you have got operations across this border, some of you even across the ocean. And it's always interesting to sort of compare or the ideal, the perception. We at CtrlFleet have been privileged to make a leap into a different region, also outside of South Africa, Africa. And I've been encouraged by the fact that the tech that we build here and how we digitize here really does not shy away to the rest of the world. We're very excited about what's going on. But in general, when it comes to the adoption of technology amongst general players, there seems to be a very uneven adoption in our market compared to more first developed markets, like, for example, Germany or the States. So a very distinctive difference is the fact that you have these pockets of excellence in certain regions, like, for example, in South Africa, maybe ports, compared to in your developed countries, there's a general stronger adoption, and that integrated effect is almost standard from the start now, where we are tapping into that more and more as we go. So just a little bit of a summary of where we are today in terms of digitization. When we look at AI, which is obviously a top of mind topic, and there's a lot of that happening at many operators. Some of it is just, in infant stages, other in more mature stages, but that is currently increasing at a rapid pace. We know that the cross-border initiatives in Africa and becoming borderless digitally is a top of mind agenda. That on its own is going to maybe become a game changer in how digitalization can play its part. But long and all, the fact that this is where we are and that perfect storm is perfect for us. And we're very excited to see that and how that's changed from the last 3 to 5 years. So I've put up this little slide just to show, I think there's some of you that might not necessarily come directly out of transport or the logistics, but just to give you a gauge, these are the main areas that we look at when we talk about the logistics landscape and which technology players are currently best of breed at each. But that best of breed applications are now integrating with the rest. And that is where the network effect starts. So if you look at planning, you have that acronym fields coming in. You look at your traditional track and trace or telematics. You look at your optimization, your documentation. That all starts to integrate nicely. But before you get to that network effect, the phase where you as an operator are now, you should not necessarily compare against your direct neighbor. It's not the right or wrong. Your phase of your maturity of digitalization is your journey. But what I did look at as a typical phased approach that many operators do take. And phase one still is, and where most of the budget allocation remains, is getting the core applications in place. So a lot of the speakers today represent applications or modules that speak to those core features. Because if you have that in place, phase 2 and 3 and beyond is accessible. Phase 2, for example, integrating those players together to get to phase 3, which is automation, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, broad scale analytics, where the data really becomes impactful for you to make decisions, where most of you want to be, if not already, only really becomes valuable if phase 1 and 2 have been put in place. So that phase 1, that's typically where ourselves as CtrlFleet play at most of our transport discussions, is to get that visibility on the ground for transport operators to take digital control of their fleet. So once you do that and you get to a place where you have one single digital place of effective control, one point of truth, then the other peripherals will follow. So that first phase of getting that goal of getting control and visibility, starting point. Phase 2, now, once you have that digital point of control, how do you navigate and with which external role parties do you want to work? Obviously, you have to integrate with your client. Obviously, you'd like to entertain or have to work, wanting to work with your subcontractors. That on its own can create a multiple duplication if not integrated. So to get to that stage, after you've implemented your core transport applications, then how easy is it to integrate? Are you giving your customer real-time visibility? Can you include your subcontractors to make them part of your business as is your own? How do you make the duplication in your own team and those of your clients limited by integrating from your clients' applications or these industry platforms that are playing a critical role now? That then becomes the phase where that network starts to give you the value. And then ultimately, once you've got the network effect, once you have those key functions integrating that adds value to your business, then the data can flow. Then the transparency is there. Then the single point of truth for you becomes a single point of truth for you and your direct suppliers and customers. And once there, the data can tell the story, become predictive, utilize hardware applications to flow into the data, use aspects like automation, robotics, AI agents, utilize the ability that even if some of the building blocks in the bottom changes, that your methodology of what data you need to still maintain that type of outcome is constant. And I think that's where you're not going to start relying in your digitization journey on what applications you've put in, but the culture you've groomed in your business to know this outcome is what I want. If the role players might change, I know that this is the role that the application should play in my business. And again, as long as they're integrated, feeding with the third-party members that I'm dealing with, I can still provide that value to my end provider. Then digitization doesn't come down to a single application, doesn't come down to a single vendor. It comes down to your own conviction of what you as a business need to put in place in your eco-environment to get that working. So the typical integrations that we have, for example, those are the ones that we'll be discussing today for us in CtrlFleet. Some of these are top of mind discussions that we have on a daily basis. Typically, your financial application where, you know, where the rubber hits the tar when it comes to the numbers on what your business is producing, that application needs to talk to your operational system. Is it talking to your transport application or your warehouse application or your demand application? Is your transport or your operational systems talking to each other? So that's, for example, us talking to our telematics providers or our fuel network providers or the fleet maintenance providers. Because one thing you will pick up today, which I believe is a golden string between all the speakers, is there's not one silver bullet. There's not one application that is currently giving everything to all players. And it shouldn't be, is my opinion, because there is so much depth that we have in these sectors that our transporters need to manage digitally. And those are best of breed applications. And I truly believe that we are now entering a phase where the limitation, the challenge of adopting best of breeds because they cannot integrate, they don't want to integrate, or it's costly, or it takes time. I can't get to that. I can't wait a year for my transport application to integrate with my warehouse application. That is gone. Where we are today is that is a necessity. We know we can integrate. We know that it's accessible, and we want to. And that's the most important. So these applications are dancing together. We see that at almost every discussion we have at transport clients that we deal with. And obviously, there's a lot of peripheral applications around that needs to integrate. What happens if you do that right? Well, your integration with your clients and your service levels, potentially bringing concepts in like digital twins where you can mimic future scenarios based on the fact that you have got the data that has integrated and you can put scenarios out for how you would like to make decision making different. And then obviously some of us and also you in the room that we know that the ESG and the carbon tracking topic that that remains relevant. Again, that's something that you can start servicing if you have got the data. So in closing, if we do look at all these different players and we look at how they can potentially integrate, and the formula of them integrating is different at every client, where you are in your life stage and what you need to have integration to add value to your operation the most is different. But the fact that there are best applications that do that, and once they integrate, multiple value and scale can become at your fingerprints points. This is typically a road that you find. Customers placing orders, digitally flowing into your environment, you having your own environment completely integrated, one point of control, actual operation executing, continuous feedback back to role players, ending off in obviously return of funds into the value that you did. And that is where we are. That's not couple of years. It's not the future. We are in that stage currently. And I think the exciting part is that we see that play out, and the transporters that are not necessarily capitalizing on it completely yet know that it is in their grasp to get there. And for us at CtrlFleet today and continuously, but for us to highlight on our events annually is to just give a glimpse that you can meet some of those players. And there are many. We have many partners that we want to and continually put to the fore at our clients, that they can experience those value that our partners provide. But today, some of them are here to showcase that. And it's your opportunity to do of that what you want and what you can. So this is a picture I also showed on our last year's event. This was always a disconnect sometimes, an office and what happens on the road. This has become one. Your workforce is 100 because you've got 80 drivers. And they are just as digitized now as is your operation. And what technologies you are now putting in place at those specific spaces, either at your office, on the road, in your cab, with your partners, clients, suppliers, is now becoming more and more centralized. And again, that network effect is where the value lies. So today, the speakers that we have are going to untap that. Some of them have applications in the cab and also back at the office. Others focus more on office-bound internal operations and integration of external parties. Listen, take home, and you will know when what becomes relevant for your own operation. So thank you very much for being here. Thanks for those online that have also taken the time. We really are grateful for you being here. And then without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. So Stephen Sutherland is the General Manager of PowerFleet. Many of you would know PowerFleet as the traditional mixed telematics. They've rather recently merged, and Stephen has, out of his role as General Manager, taken over quite a number of different regions now. So again, I know you've got an extremely busy calendar. Super grateful that you can be here. We've been an integration and value-added partner of PowerFleet for almost since inception. So yeah, we love the fact that we share the same ethos and driving value to transport operators. So thank you for being here.
Thanks. You want to use that? Okay. All good. All right, can everybody hear me? Fantastic. Okay, I was just saying I wear one of these because I battle to stand still. My wife hates that as well. All right, thanks, Renko. I think you've cut out about 30 slides just with that intro. Thanks very much. And I think, when we were invited, and Harry, thanks very much for creating the stage for us. Really, really good. Renko, thanks for the invite. Esther, thanks for the constant pushing. We live in busy lives, but we know that sometimes we've got to get our stuff in on time, and we battle. We live in logistics. We know what that world's like. So yeah, I think the hardest part for me is not to turn this into a sales pitch. So I'm going to try my best. I was told I'm not allowed to talk about product. I need to talk a little bit about thought leadership. So that was a tough one, because when you go through your slide decks and you kind of have a look at this, you kind of think sales, sales, sales. So I actually went, I think within this industry, and what Renko's saying is absolutely to point. We're sitting in this world of rich AI. We're sitting in a world of digitization and integration and all of those kind of things. And you kind of think that, okay, as a vendor within this space, and with a lot of really, really good customers that are always looking to see how can I optimize, you've always got to ask yourself the question, okay, where do we go next? What do we actually focus on? And sometimes when you talk about digitization within the logistics space, we talk about all of those things that Harry introduced in the beginning. We talk about systems. Renko also introduced that. Let's see if we can move along here a little bit. he introduced the world of acronyms, and generally each of those acronyms is a system. It's either an HSEQ system, or it's a warehouse management, or workshop management, or TMS. It's all of these systems. What we sometimes ignore is it's those invisible umbilicals that actually should or do join these things together, or can connect these things together, because that's where the value lives. So then you think, wow, okay, cool. Now the market looks like this. Where do we actually start? And is there a golden thread? Because it doesn't matter how many developers you have, there's always a finite pool, and you can always do so much. And where do you focus on? So we generally have a lot of conversations, and for those of our customers in the room who've had to bear with us in some of these tedious conversations, hopefully this is going to give you a little bit of insight as to kind of very much what we extract from that. Because we need to know, what do we focus on? We can't focus on everything at once. And sometimes even in development within software, and I'm sure Renko's got the same issues, and as most of my esteemed colleagues are going to be up here next, also have the same challenges, is try, where do we create this thread so that you can get some value over where I'm going to put my effort. So if we have a look, when we look at logistics systems, and we actually have a look at where these threads should be, it's for us to try and find something that's actually going to define the journey that you're going to actually take. We know from a commercial perspective, we're all in business, so where do we sit? We sit on this side, and it's a case of costs down, profits up. This is what I need. Brand, I need to save and protect my brand. I need to make sure that this business works. And then you kind of have a look at those things on the other side, and you kind of say, okay, well, what is it that I can actually ignore? What can I chop? And sometimes, because we don't think in digitization, and we're not kind of thinking about what we need to strap together, we sometimes chop the wrong arm or the wrong leg off. And so for us, it was a case of having a discussion across the industry and finding out what is that one thing that we could actually consider to be a golden thread, where if you invested in that thing, you would not only be doing the right thing, but you would also be feeding the rest of the pool across there. So can't talk about product, but this comes from a lot of the research that we did, which formulates a platform which you'll be seeing that's going to be introduced very shortly, more so probably a little bit of an offering. But maybe let's ask this question: who's in health and safety? Okay. All right. So what is your most toughest job? Your toughest job, and I can speak for everybody, that's when you go to group and you ask for funding or budget to go and put in some health and safety initiative. Not so. No, we slash that one. Let's put that money into marketing. Let's go and do something else. Well, I'll tell you what the keys that we found. And what we did was we went and spoke to some of our customers, spent a lot of time with them that are in tightly compliant driven environments. So oil and gas, mining, tightly compliant. They don't have an option. They have to prescribe to certain HSEQ requirements. And then we went and spoke to some other customers who are very in either lightly, low, or no compliancy markets as to kind of what is important for them and kind of very much what they ignore. Well, here's a good thing, and maybe I'll just take a few bullets as we go through this in terms of helping you to justify a few things. We actually found that the golden thread is actually health and safety, but everybody discounts it because they battle to translate health and safety to profits. It's always a spend. Okay, and that's what we're going to spend probably a little bit of time on, just showing you what kind of very much came out of our research. We'll use one or two examples just to try and see if we can drive that point home. And this was very much the foundation into us bringing out our offering, which is called On-Site Plus, and that's as much as I'm going to say, just before I get into trouble. So if we have a look, digitization doesn't create value just because the technologies exist. And there's lots of them, and they're good. And there's really, really, I think, applicable technologies for every space of our business. It's when that data, when those workflows, when those accountability layers, when they interconnect, that's when you start getting the value. And that's why I think that the topic of today's conversation, the network effect, is actually so appropriate for this conversation. It's getting that stuff to actually network. Data sitting in silos is great data, and you can go and mine that data, and you can get some really good answers for it. But when you really want to start putting it together, that's when it starts turning your black and white TV into a color TV, and you're actually starting to see how these things interact. So there's two specific environments that we're going to focus on. And these are linked, and yet they're not linked. And in a lot of the discussions that we had with a lot of our customers, we actually realized their focus on these two environments was intense, but it was siloed. And that is your, what we refer to as in-warehouse or on-site. So that's your materials handling side of things. And the rest is your on-road. So that's your trucks and your truck tractors and all of those kind of things. And you generally have managers that work in both of these spaces. And we've spoken to these. They're passionate and they drive, that part of their business is running really, really like clockwork. And yet there's still problems that exist because they don't gel those two. So what we've done is we've kind of said, okay, we take this golden thread, which is called health and safety, and let's have a look and see what is this network effect of just these two components? And there's lots of them. What is the network effect of just these two components? So what is the problem statement? Problem statement is quite easy. Different metrics. We found that in the health and safety application within warehouses was actually quite strong because you run somebody over the forklift, it's going to be messy. And if you go and have a look in the truck side of things, you'll find that, yes, health and safety, where I can kind of see it's going to be able to allow me to extract a few more driving hours out of this driver, and that'll be okay. But let's have a look and see when we put it together. So that's the thing, two very siloed environments. Let's have a look at some of the technology. So technology application on the one side, AI, pedestrian proximity detection. Wow, PPD, that's a big word. But it's a case of, so what does that do? It detects objects and it detects pedestrians within a warehouse, and it stops the machine before you hit the pedestrian. Fantastic, that's great. And we'll see what that actually does. Speed management. Speed management means that should there be an impact, at least it's going to be at a much lower speed or a safer speed. So therefore, the damage that's going to be incurred is probably going to be a lot less. Access control. Right driver, right machine. Making sure that that driver through a vehicle access control system is going through his checklists. Have I got hydraulic leaks? Have I got this? Is this fine? Is that done? Is that cool? Okay, you now can start the machine. And also, here's my code. Cool, you can actually drive that machine. All of those things, these are the technologies that get applied. Driver behavior. Let's have a look and see. Now, driver behavior, funny enough, you then go onto the on-road side. Now we're watching driver behavior. And there's a lot of advantages that you get from that driver behavior, but never do those things actually merge. We're not actually seeing our driver behavior on the one, driver behavior on the other can actually have an effect to each other. So in the market that we had a look at, and from chatting to our customers, we can see these were seen as, these are compliance tools. That's what they are. And that's when I go and find some budget, it's a compliance tool. And yet when we had a look at it and we said, what is the benefits that they actually get from it? You can actually see it's a downtime prevention system. Or it's an asset protection system. It's a labor stability system, insurance risk mitigation, spend reduction. You can look at it on those things. Now it's now filling two different columns. And what does that actually help? Uptime, inventory flow, labor continuity, delivery reliability, brand. How so? Let's go and have a look at something. So let's have a look. Forklift impact. This is quite common. So you have a in-house incident with a forklift, maybe driving into one of the aisle rack stacks. What actually happens? Does it just damage the rack and somebody comes and fixes it? What is the actual business impact of something like that happening? Well, first of all, generally find that you shut down access to the inventory in that aisle. No forklift can actually travel in that aisle until everything is made safe. And depending on the impact, especially if there's no speed limiters, you generally find that could actually be shut down for a week or two. So what does that mean? You've now got inspectors all over the place, more pedestrians within your warehouse, and all your what's happening with your orders. Outbound orders, grind to a halt, inventory can't be removed from that aisle. What does that do? Missed departure slots. You now find that when that does happen, there's crunch time on the drivers now. Now the drivers have got to run more routes. They've got to run more trips to actually get that stuff out. What does that do? Driver fatigue. Now you've got fatigued drivers that are driving. Now you've got accidents, bumps, rollovers, all of those things, and that impact. And overtime costs. So what you thought you were saving, you're now actually wasting. What happens when you start actually applying these technologies? Now you find your AR pedestrian detection, so now you're not hitting pedestrians. Machines are stopping automatically, but sometimes people just can't, the reaction time is too slow. You're also finding that speed management, as we said, now when you do hit something, it's actually happening at a much slower speed. So generally the damage is reduced. The checklists are making sure that you don't have drivers, because it's a case of that driver didn't rock up for work today, so I stuck another driver onto the machine, not qualified to run the machine, and he's running the machine. What are the potential problems that can happen to that, especially when he's loading into the back of a truck and he creates some damage on that side? Now you've affected both sides of the logistics chain. Your aisles stay open, your truck leaves on time, and your delivery arrives as scheduled. So what's the benefit there? Again, preserve productivity, not just compliance, but also operation resilience. So HSE, or health and safety, actually feeding into your productivity and your resilience in that particular space. Network effect. What about if somebody gets hurt? Now you've got a governance issue. So now you've got regulatory investigation. You've potentially got site shutdown. Maybe there's even some criminality. Maybe there's some huge liability that actually comes in. You're now sitting at an executive accountability on something that could have been managed at a warehouse management level. Insurance premiums starting to escalate. Customers moaning and screaming about stuff not coming in. Your environmental safety and governance reporting goes through the roof, especially if you're sitting with SOX compliance or something like that. And shareholder scrutiny. So again, not just an HSE system, but you can actually start having a look at something that actually helps with governance compliance. Proactive to reactive. In the past, before we had all the systems and before we netted them together, how did we measure things? We measured things with after the fact events. Okay, how many accidents did I happen? How many claims? What did it actually cost me? What have my insurance premiums gone up? All after the fact. What does this network effect actually give us? And the application of this across those two functional areas. Now you start getting things like, for example, how many near misses? Is there something that I should actually be concerned about? Because you're starting to get a lot more rich data coming in. You're starting to get things like, for example, speed variances. What is it? Where should I be looking at actually controlling this a little bit more? Where can I reduce speed so that I can actually reduce impact? Or where can I reduce speed because there's no reason to actually hurry in that particular area? Let's get the safety through. Proximity events. Where am I getting my near misses? Where should I now start having a look at not allowing pedestrians to walk? Or where are people packing objects where I'm continually banging into them, or at least having the event? You don't want to have to hit it or damage your inventory for you to learn that it's in the wrong place. But if you start getting the proximity alert saying, hang on a second, I've got like 4 or 5 of these in this particular area, maybe the gap's not wide enough. All of those things. Fatigue detection. What's happening? Which of my drivers are fatigued? Is it the same driver all the time? Which shifts am I suffering the greatest amount of fatigue? You can now start making proper decisions based on the information that it's going to feed you. Also, your impact severity patterns. Is it a time of day thing? Is it a rush hour thing? Where do I need to probably apply a little bit more management? Where do I need to go in there as an executive and help to plan and do a bit of a better strategy? And also behavioral risk scoring. Is it all my drivers? Is it one of the drivers? Is it machine? Is it the high reach stacker guys? Is it where does it actually sit? It allows you to actually hone in. So what it does is you can now ask a lot more pertinent questions. So one of the things, for example, is you can have a look at whether certain sites are experiencing higher impact rates and higher delivery delays. You can actually put that together. Okay, it seems to be this site and not everything. What am I doing right here? What am I doing wrong there? What is the right application of the technology? And is my safety performance directly correlated to my on-time delivery? So now I'm saying, this is my HSE that I've put in, but hang on a second, I'm actually getting operational insights out of this. So if I have a much tighter, much stronger health and safety focus, I can see that my operation is running a lot more efficient. And again, that's kind of very much what we're pulling from the network effect. So how does this cross-environment risk intelligence actually work? So if we have a look at it, in the past, if we isolate incidents, we isolate the focus. And we've seen this because we work in both environments. So we look at things like, for example, recurring safety patterns at the moment are either warehouse or on road, but not both. When you start putting those things to both, you can actually start mapping behaviors across these two. And it's those behavior trends that are actually going to tell you more than the after the fact. And you want to be able to manage a behavior trend, because if that behavior trend is creating issues on road, believe me, it's going to create issues in the warehouse. If the behavior trends in the warehouse is creating issues on this side, believe me, it's going to create issues on this side. So if it's a case of you're going to fix it on this and you see improvements, you definitely want to fix it on the other side. But you're not going to see that if you're not putting it together, if you're not using this network effect to glue the things together. And then also in terms of, am I getting the same cause and effect? So is it a case of that my structural pressures, time constraints, rush hours, peak times, that 4 to 8 in the morning of kind of getting the logistics guys under pressure because you want to get those things out? What is actually happening is that's where my problems are, then that's where I need to focus. And I need to fix it so that I don't recur with it again the next day. And also then recognizing that risk migrates. It doesn't stay in one place. It doesn't remain contained. Take a pallet. A pallet doesn't care or doesn't even know that it's in a warehouse. But the risk moves from the warehouse onto the truck, into the customer's environment. So if the risk goes through, it means it actually compounds. So if I don't fix it on the one side and I'm not looking at it on the other side, I've actually got compounded risk. And we know what that does. Risk means incident, means expense, and there goes your profitability. So how do we correlate this? So if we have a look at safety performance, we check safety performance with delivery reliability because the two are linked. You've seen it. If we get an understanding of those pressures within the warehouse and how that pressure actually moves across into the on-road, and you handle that pressure, you release that pressure, you'll find that again, you'll become a lot more streamlined, you'll become a lot more aligned. And there's a relationship between safety variability and between service consistency. Marry those two together and learn from the one environment to the other. That's the network effect. What's the strategic outcome? You now have not siloed data sitting there feeding one particular sector. You've now actually got data-informed prioritization across all these aspects. And you've also got clear identification of where your intervention areas are and where they should be. And if you've picked up the one, guaranteed it's going to be in the other. You can also focus the attention of leadership. Renko said, we're all busy. We don't have time. And sometimes that's the biggest problem. Now we can actually focus. Where should we actually be looking? That's where we need to focus time. You can't always focus time across both. Where should we focus time? How can I pass these learnings onto those learnings and reduce the time because I can duplicate the effort? Also, you get a proactive mitigation rather than reactive correction. And that's what you want. After an accident, it's too late. You want to try and be proactive in fixing the accident by making sure that you're managing those behaviors. So if we are executives, and I know there are some in the room. At a board level, hopefully in this short little space of time, we've realized that HSEQ is, this is not, safety is not just an HSEQ area. It's not just an investment into something because somebody's health and safety conscious. It actually ripples through the entire business. So there's a direct link to workforce stability and brand trust. Workforce stability means deliveries on time, means happy customers. Happy customers finish the circle, means that they appreciate what we do. Profitability is sustained. Otherwise, all they're going to do is just hammer you for all the mistakes that you make. So in this world of thin margins and labor shortages, if we reduce downtime, which we can by implementing HSEQ systems, we can gain a competitive advantage. And hopefully, I've been able to just do that correlation. Otherwise, I haven't done a good job up here. So reducing risk is actually shareholder protection. So what is the true summary? What is the true compounding network effect? First of all, safety operations reduce disruption. Reduced disruption increases uptime. Uptime stabilizes productivity. And stable productivity ensures reliable delivery. Reliable delivery makes for happy customers, builds customer trust, builds brand identity. And that then finishes the circle and creates sustainable profitability. But let's close the opening. Health and safety, not just a cost center. Hopefully this is going to help some of the people in the room who focus on health and safety to go and get a little bit more budget for some of their initiatives. But the greatest multiplier effect is when we stop treating the warehouse and the on-road as two separate initiatives. They joined at the hip. You cannot separate them. Treat them as a unified operating system or a single wheel and cog. They all work together. And what will they protect? They'll protect, we've seen, your people, your assets, your productivity, and your profitability. So if we lead with health and safety, your cost, your efficiency, and your profitability will follow. Thank you. Not a bad.
Yeah, that's good.
Hello. There we go. Thank you very much, Stephen. I love what you said. Risk migrates. And if you don't have the digital levers in place to watch that migration, by the time you know, it's too late. So yeah, no, thank you for that. Thanks for the insights. We're going to move the polls to afterwards. We've got gifts we're going to hand out, but I want us to proceed nice and smoothly while we're on a good innings. So next in line is Jeff Ryan. He's the Senior Director for Growth at Tideco. And he represents, among other things, some of the crucial acronyms that live in most of your businesses, and that's in the cornerstone of the financial space, that financial ERP acronym. But that's not where they're limited to. In and around, happy for you to be here. Thank you very much, Jeff, and very excited to listen.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, Inka. Thank you. Guys, morning, guys. Very pleased to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Harry and Rinko. Happy birthday, Harry. I hope we sing and have a couple of drinks later for that. 20 years is an amazing, awesome thing to be done. Yeah, so today, most of you probably don't know me. So I will start off with that and just get the slides going. There we go. So Jeff Ryan, and also all those online, we're a Sage business partner, but my background in particular, besides the blurb about me, what I do on the weekend, I think the most important thing on that slide is I've got two kids, one that's 6 and 8, and it's very difficult to explain what you do as an adult to a child. So I'm going to give you my explanation of what I do, and then hopefully it'll tell you where we're going to fit in terms of this presentation. So my kids asked me what I did, and I said, well, I love to solve business problems. That's really where we fit in. I love to go into complex environments. I have 20 years of experience in terms of helping businesses from a consulting perspective. I used to be a developer myself when I was younger. I moved into the business space. I've got a business and a technology background. And as a result of that, it became a translator. I'm sure you've all sat in those meetings with the developers and the business person, and they're speaking totally different languages and they can't understand each other. That's where I fit in, and I've always enjoyed that space to try and solve problems in that space. I'm very lucky to work for a company called Tideco. Some of you may or may not know the companies AW Cape and Applico. They were Sage business partners. And then we got bought out by our clients. So the whole network event that Renko talked about, one of our clients actually bought us out. It was a US accounting firm. We saw the opportunity to offer our South African rands and the rates that we do to US company and implement systems for them. They liked us so much, they bought us out to make us a global partner. So where we fit in now is we offer Sage systems to our customers. We sell and implement them, and we try and help them in terms of putting them in that environment. So just like Harry's slide with the amount of logos and Renko, what he talked about, there's so many brilliant businesses in the logistics space. But what we're finding as we've entered into the space is, one, a lot of them are not talking about the HR, payroll, or finance space and what they need from a business perspective. It is very much around the operations, the fleet management, the warehousing, the fuel management. All of those things are exceptionally important. There's some really great software out there that's going to help manage that. But how does it all fit together, and how do you make profits? That's where we kind of fit in, and where we want to hopefully today show you a little bit about how we bring that information together. So there it is, the picture of sort of logistics and what we have at the moment. You've got your fleet management, fuel management, telematics. There's a whole lot of things around driver management. We talked about driver fatigue and all those data points that are sitting in your environment right now. But are they being brought through the golden thread that Stephen talked about? Is there some way that information is coming through into your systems and talking about how profitable you are based on those information? And in most cases, when we're interviewing all these different customers, is they're saying they're not actually getting it all together. They're not able to make a decision. And if they are making a decision, it's almost too late. So if we look at what we find is a lot of these information, especially about fuel variants. So who in the here is worried about what's happening in Iran at the moment? I am. I'm sure all of you who are running fleets have got petrol costs that are going to be rising. Is there going to be delivery? I mean, it went up 30 cents last week, I think, or the last few days. The expectation is at about a rand and a half next month. And that's just from the budget speeds. They haven't even factored in what's going to happen as a result of the deliveries. How's your business actually going to adapt to that? That's an important insight that you need to understand before it even happens. Not 3 months after the financial year end when you've already had those costs into your fleet. You could find out you've lost a lot of money. The maintenance, the overspend that you're spending, you're only finding that at month end. And probably a lot of you have traffic through Africa. Maybe there was some sort of event that happened that made it more expensive to go there. And you're only finding that 3 months later. That's not going to help you for your route planning because you've already had 3 months at that cost. The labor side of things where, Steve talked about the fatigue, all of those things that are actually influencing your business and how that's affecting your profitability. If you're not going to know all about those things, how are you going to actually make your business more profitable and leapfrog your competitors? We've found out, and most through Kat from Metal is giving me a lot of insights into how cash negative logistics businesses are. If you're not very close to how your cash flow is being managed, how are you potentially going to beat your competitors? How are you going to invest in your infrastructure, whether that be with some of the software that you're seeing in the room today, or anything else that you need to grow your business forward? I'm sure most of you here, and it's one of our biggest competitors as a Sage partner, is Excel. We've interacted with a lot of logistics businesses where that is their system. They're over 100 million rand turnover business where absolutely everything was on Excel. Their finance, their payroll, how they were route planning, everything was done with Excel. They had such massive growth as a business. They started with one truck. Suddenly they realized they saw the opportunity. They got another one. They subcontracted another one. They suddenly got a massive contract, which was route delivery all over the country. And suddenly they're still running on Excel. Frightening. But there is so many options for business like that, and they don't even know about it. So going back to what Renko said about the networking effect, and I think a lot of the focus you went on, Renko, is about everyone in this room and how they work together. But what we're finding, even when those systems are talking really nicely together in some great partnerships, it's not flowing into financial decision making. You're not getting dashboards to see, okay, well, this person's been working too much, and this route seems to be the one that is the least profitable. What are we actually doing about that? How are we moving resources around? How are we actually just saying, let's not do that route. Let's invest in the routes that are more profitable. Or on the routes that are not profitable, how do we increase the price that we're charging those customers because it's not profitable? All those decisions are not made available because we're not connecting the data together into one place in a financial system that makes it available. So again, the old way, your fleet manager knows exactly what's happening in the vehicle performance, but it's operating in silos. Your finance knows about the fuel, but that's not going back to the operations and actually decisions being made around how to actually spend the fuel effectively. Or are they even negotiating contracts with the fuel providers or the different distribution stations? Are they actually finding out ways to do the fuel better than they are doing at the moment? Driver overtime, maybe it's sitting off in HR, maybe it's sitting in operations, but is anyone actually managing that and seeing what the effect on your bottom line is? And again, if you're doing everything in Excel, there is no ways you have real-time visibility of profitability. The focus of a lot of what we're building and the systems that we offer and the digitization that Renko talked about is very much around getting real-time insights into what's happening in your business right now. We've got a lot of different businesses outside of the logistics space and have fundamentally shifted how they are running their business. I'll give an example. We've got a client in the restaurant chain, which is also high moving, low margin, similar to logistics. They were able to pull a lot of the operational data in. It's Life and Brand, massive Tiger Milk with La Parada. They wanted to know their profitability per square meterage. So they started bringing the square meterage into their financial system and then also the head count of all the servers. They could then get deep insights to see how location is actually doing relative to other ones and how they could tweak things. You can only do that when you have the information available in a real time. If you try to do that in spreadsheets, firstly, you're going to make errors, there's formulas. Secondly, the data is out of date, and you're never going to have the insights and move faster than your competitor. Just for that Life and Brand is growing at a phenomenal rate, almost like 2 or 3 restaurants a month, just because they're able to do those insights. What are the other gains? Well, faster close times. Some of the systems we offer are saying a 40% improvement in productivity and a 75% increase in your monthly close. That's time that is just spent generally in spreadsheets getting the reports out. How are we going to change that going forward for you? That's an investment in those systems. Those back-end systems are generally the last choice, but it can make a massive difference in terms of your productivity and your profitability. Again, going back to what we said about negative cash flow. If you can make decisions faster, you're going to move your cash flow around faster. You're going to have it more available for your operations and for decision makings from an investment perspective. So what does the ecosystem look at the moment? So, Henko used the words ERP. ERP is dead. The investment in a SAP and Oracle now is not the decision that you should be making. What the new world is looking at is connected systems. So the providers in these rooms and how they work together. It is no longer that you have to go to one provider that provides everything. They do provide everything. Do they provide the best warehouse management solution? No. Do they know how to do fleet management? Yes. Are they the best at it? No. Their accounting and finance. Do they offer reports that you can use to run your finance? Yes. Are they, in Stephen's words, reactive or proactive with analytics and predictive planning and forecasting? No. So what you want to be looking to is a world where you actually are investing in multiple systems and connecting them together. So the actual integration layer becomes the most important decision you actually make. It's not about buying a silver bullet and making it all work for your business. It's around finding the pieces that work for your business specifically. And because it's such a great big vertical that you work in, it's actually finding your sub vertical that it works for as well. So one system might work for another vertical, it might not work for you, and you have to find the right fit for your business. Partnerships. There's no point in having a system in terms of your business if it doesn't actually have a business objective, which is another point that Renko made. There's no point in buying something just because everyone else is doing it. There's no reason that you're going to make money out of it. But where there are partnerships, and that's where we see the partnership with CtrlFleet, is we're not trying to do telematics. Sage does have no interest in doing fleet management or transport or anything like that. They are focused on finance and HR and payroll. Those partnerships work together and both businesses succeed as a result of it. And then the last thing, the integration strategy. And I think Renko talked to it. I think a lot of businesses are at different stages of their journey that you talked about, Renko. And the stages where you feel completely overwhelmed. And integration does not have to be an IT driven where you have super fast APIs with automation and asynchronous things. It can be a report from one system that is then manually imported into another system. That is an integration. And it's an effective strategy and it's a cost-effective one. Obviously, as your business scales, it is not one that is scalable, but it is definitely one that's cost-effective as your business is growing. This is just an example of a partnership and a network that works together. Sage offer fantastic financial accounting software. They offer fantastic HR and payroll. I think probably every single person in this room has been paid a payslip by Sage over the years if you're based in South Africa. You've probably seen the Sage Pastel or Sage Payroll little heading on the top of your payslip when you get it. They do that well. CtrlFleet and all the others in the room, but as an example, CtrlFleet do their transport management, the fleet management, the telematics, everything that they need to do well. That's how they support their customers. Where we come in as Tidego is very much around understanding that there's two very compatible systems, but at the moment, maybe they're not talking to each other, or they're not transferring information that's for a use case for a business. So that's where where I love coming in is, what do you need to do as a business? What is your strategic objective? How are you bringing that data together and what makes sense for you? And then we actually help you implement that. Is it a producer report and importance, the other one? Is it APIs? Is it integration platforms as a service, which is another software, because there's so many more applications for your platform service to bring them together. I think this is something that's from an advice perspective. Once you kind of maybe agree with me, maybe you don't agree with me, that integration and bringing things together is really important to actually get more value out of your business. You can't make the mistake that integration is an IT problem. It is a strategic objective. You have to bring it together. As you could see with Stephen, and understanding how the nuances of bringing things together with the golden thread, that health and safety is actually applicable and driving profitability. In the same principle, if you just have two systems connecting and syncing data, there's no value in that. You're not going to deliver anything to your board, your stakeholders, or actually deliver any profitability. You need to understand why you're integrating things and not just rely on your IT staff to do it. To do that, and one of the things we do generally suggest when we start these processes, what is the information you're trying to get out? What does that dashboard look like? What is critical to you? Are you worried about your employees' health? Are you looking at how effective your route management is relative to your competitors? What are the reports that you actually want to generate once you've got this data talking to each other? If you can't answer that question, there's no point in integrating your systems. Answer that question first and then go into the integration strategy. Never integrate if you have a bad process. I've dealt with a lot of logistic customers, and some of them, their process involves something around having a piece of paper and a different colored pen at different stages of the process. Someone has now processed the order, it goes out. When it arrives, someone has a pencil, the next person has a pen to make it solid because it's been approved. Those are processes that are effective, but they're not good processes and are not going to be scalable as your business goes. Rain will ruin that process, as an example. You need to actually have processes that work before you automate them. I'll just talk about the data void first. If you're going to go on the strategy, if you're taking bad data from one system and putting it into another, it's pointless as well. If you don't have good data or good data governance in terms of how it's actually been entered into the system, the next system that reports of it's going to have the same flaws that the operational system had. And I think then the last one that is really the most important, we always see in this, take the people on the journey with you. Why are you making this change? What's the purpose behind it? What is the why? If you don't do that, the system will do exactly what you want. And I'll give you the example where we had an approval system that we had to build on the olden days. It was on Sage Pastel. We made an amazing approval system to take away all the manual and pieces of paper that they were flying around the office and signing things. And I came back about a month or two later after we've implemented the system. And what did I find? The people had started screenshotting the system and then printing it and walking around and getting the approvals on the screenshots instead of actually using the system. The people had not been brought along. It's really important. These are just kind of the questions that you should be asking. If you can't get answers to these questions and your competitor can, surely then you're not in the right place as a business. Can you see your root level profitability at the moment? Or do you wait for month end and actually maybe after that when you've actually got the spreadsheets and the data and all that? Do you know your true cost per vehicle? How much your reporting is still dependent on those spreadsheets? And if the fuel spikes tomorrow, which it's going to with what's happening in Iran, what is the impact and how are you planning around that? Were you able to effectively manage when COVID happened? If you can't do that now and you had that experience before, things like what's happening in Iran is going to affect your business massively. These are just two solutions, and I'm not going to sell on that. You can speak to Talita and Tegan, who are at the back, all about our products and what they can offer in terms of systems. But I think we're missing a. I'm missing, I think, a slide there. That's fine. I think that slide's not showing. I think the message to get out of this, though, is that there are some really great software out there. There are some beautiful partnerships in terms of business that you can get together. But if you're not leveraging that and bringing it through into your financial and your HR and payroll side, you're not doing the two fundamentals of your business. You're not managing your finance to make you more profitable, and you're not managing your people to make you more profitable. I think if you take that message out of the day and make connections with everyone here, that's probably a great message to take. Thank you. Go.
Hello. Jeff, I'm sure many are sitting around here thinking, where have you been? That picture you have of the triangle, disconnect, how do I get, because everybody's got a financial system of some sort, has to, but the rest and how? Excellent. I'm taking away data rich, insight poor. So many can relate. So thanks everybody. If those of you who've taken away some insights already, I'm one of them. This is excellent. And speaking about the fuel and you mentioning that, you know, the challenge coming, for those of you wondering if you're going to slip out because the coffee, you need another round, we have speakers that are going to speak exactly to that, transitioning either maybe diverging away from fuel or how to manage that even better. So stay tuned. Next speaker, he's a local at the Digital Dynamics. It's his third year. He's been with us from the start. Steve Buer from Fleet It. He was here yesterday, flew in earlier from Durban, and we recently launched CtrlCast, which is a podcast. And we had us sit down, training and getting a lot of energy about listening at the similarities that your business is going through, speaking to transport and what they and especially when it comes to one of them as the internet. Thank you. Very excited to hear what you have in store.
Awesome. Thanks, Rinko. Cheers. Harry, thank you too. And we're really great to be here again. Yes, it's the third time I've been here, and most of you that have either been in a meeting with me or seen me would know I'm usually donning the black and white fleeted shirt, but I thought in honor of the partnership today and the ecosystem, I'd put on green for CtrlFleet. So I hope you appreciate it, Rinko. Cool. So I mean, I think just, again, we're not going to self-fleet it. If you want to know anything about it, please come chat to me after. Today, I'm really going to try and simplify fleet management and why the network effect and the partnership effect is so important to make sure you get the most value out of your fleet management. Fleet management is not one system, but it's an ecosystem. And I'm so great looking at Jeff's slide that it was shared around because it will ensure that product work together are going to give you the best result and make you probably the most for our business. And why the best outcomes come from integrated specialist partners and not just a single all-in-one platform. And we're going to dig into that a bit today. So first, let's backtrack a bit. What is fleet management software and what should it do? I still remember the number of meetings I've been to, you know, thankfully we've moved past it, but a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, where we spoke to someone and asked them what they do for fleet management, and they said, no, they've got a tracker in their car and they know exactly where in their trucks, and they know exactly where their vehicles are. And I'm sure Stephen will comment on tracking is so far away from where fleet management is, and you know the enhancement of telematics and behavior, route optimization, route planning, workshop management, vehicle cost management, fuel management, and time management. Those are just some of the critical elements that are required in terms of managing your fleet. And then you dig into a bit deeper into different industries, different types of fleets, different operations, different customers you serve. Each one of those have their own nuance in terms of what you need to manage and how detailed you need to go into each of them. So what is the misunderstood dream? It's that many customers hope and believe that fleet management is possible in one single product that they buy once. They spend once, this product is going to give them everything. It's going to sort out all of those things I just mentioned the best way and give them and make sure that it's done profitably. In reality, though, it's a business capability built from multiple tools. Each tool needs to solve different problems and produce different values. And the magic of a working fleet management system is not only integration, but it's partnership. We can all sit here, all the partners here can sit here and be shared an API from another partner, and we can make the two systems work, or even export and import a spreadsheet to share the distance, to share the data between the systems. But to really make sure that it actually is critical in making a difference in your business, those two systems or those two businesses need to be partners together. And you know, I think like the CtrlFleet and Fleeted relationships, a great example of that is that we're not just creating one integration, so now we integrate with the two systems. We sit with the customer, understand what they need, what they want, and what part of CtrlFleet, for instance, is going to actually drive home a different result in Fleeted. And that's across the board. And it's critical that your partners are working together and that they're happy to work with each other. So what does fleet management actually mean? Fleet management is the coordinated control and management of vehicles, drivers, costs, risks, and performance. There's no way that one system can do all of that, right? It's both operational and strategic. You've got much of what Jeff said, that you've got your operations guys doing one thing, but then do the finance team know what they're doing, and the other way around? Are the finance team passing the information, the strategic information that's sitting at Exco, downward to the operational staff to make sure that they're making those decisions that actually impact their strategy that they're doing? And the goal is measurable outcomes: safety, uptime, compliance, cost, revenue, service delivery. All of those are critical in making sure that an ecosystem of products work together to give you that result. So why does all-in-one often fail in practice? So fleet problems are just too broad for one product to excel at everything. We need to dig deep to really get the true results. We can all create a form that has a field that makes sure that data is inputted and that you can get it out into a report. But is that data actually going to be actionable in terms of helping you make a strategic decision, like how you're going to handle fuel price increases, or what's going to happen if you start running low on stock in your workshop? All-in-one platforms often become feature heavy but workflow light. We're in a very dangerous world at the moment where development is becoming very easy. Software development is, everyone can build an app now. You don't even have to have been a coder. But go take that app and put it into your business and you will just see things crumble, because there is so much in the background that is done that is, from compliance to security to, data protection, that's going to come and that's going to be necessary. And there is the risk that you're going to have systems out there that are going to create 25 different features that are going to solve every single need, but they're going to do it in a really poor way. And that's why it's so important that these software solutions that are very specific at what they're doing work together. The other side of it is that teams are going to end up using only 30% of those features and still end up needing external tools. So often, I walk into a workshop or a customer's office, and they're capturing their job cards and they're managing their inventory, but they've still got their little book next to them with they're writing every single job card down and they're writing every single part that they've taken out, because guys are scared to actually go out and trust and rely on the system. And that's why it's so important that we focus on those specialist systems that work together to make sure that the right person is using the right tool in that business. And the other thing is specialist tools evolve faster and go deeper into their niche. So I'm a firm believer in perfecting your wheelhouse. It's critical to me. And as you know, at Fleeted, we really try and stay out of things that we're not good at, right? So fleet cost management, what are we good at? True full cost of ownership, purchasing policy enforcements, detailed cost comparisons that have rules and triggers that make you make decisions quicker and faster, accurate work order, job card, and purchase order management, and detailed history that actually helps you make a quick decision, and accurate and detailed services and preventative maintenance reminders. What are we not good at? We can't plan optimal routes and sequences. We can't determine your load stop constraints in your ETAs and dispatch workflows and driver tasks. We can't do a proof of delivery or customer comms. We might be able to. I could build the feature quickly for you, but it's not going to be good, right? But overlap can exist, right? And it should exist, because there are some times when you are going to have different products working together. And in order for an integration to happen, the systems have to have similarities. So where does cost management or fleet, things like a product like Fleeted software overlap? We have driver inspections, and so do probably half of the tools that are products that are sitting here. They have a driver inspection or check sheet. Logging trips and routes to link costs. We bring in the routes and the trips into Fleeted so that the costs can be tied against them, so that if you're looking in Fleeted, you can see it. And at the same time, those costs are passed over into the trip or route system. And mapping drivers to vehicles. The driver is sitting with a different product. Make sure that when he's tagging into that vehicle, that it's actually touching Fleeted or your expense management software, so you can see where your costs, which driver is responsible for your costs. Where route and execution may overlap, as an example. So, you know, we've all seen that, you know, CtrlFleet have launched a great expense management tool, and that's critical to them being able to help their customers see the profitability. But where does that logging come from? Where do those expenses come from? They ideally should come from a product that is focused purely on your fleet maintenance and your fleet costs. Fuel planning to execute trips efficiently. Bringing that together is critical, so that they can actually make sure that they give you, that the operators, the guys that are working in that product, can still see their fuel costs and see what's going on, and not just the exec team that are doing fuel budgeting. As well as asset compliance being another thing that's critical across all systems. If you've got a product that touches fleet, it should, all of them should have asset compliance. So it doesn't matter which one gives you the alert that your license is expired. Just make sure they all have that same information synchronized together. Duplication is only a concern if data is being captured more than once. So it doesn't matter where that data is getting captured. If each person can sit in their own product that's specific to their niche, captured, make sure that that information is then integrated or flown into the other system, so that that user in that system can also see what they're doing. So automated duplication across multiple systems actually becomes powerful. And integration is actually the real product. So fleet value comes from connecting data to decisions. Integration turns tools into an operating ecosystem. So let's play a good example, right? So we've got customers that are using, I'm going to use CtrlFleet as a good example, where they're using CtrlFleet, they're using Fleeted. Both products can do an inspection. In CtrlFleet, the driver is using the CtrlFleet app. So don't give him a Fleeted app to also do the inspections. Let him do the inspections in CtrlFleet, and let that integrate into Fleeted, so that when the vehicle arrives at the workshop, and the workshop operator that doesn't use CtrlFleet, because there's no need for him to execute a trip, sits in there, and before he starts his job card, he can do his own inspection, open up the Fleeted app, and see which issues have been raised both on the road and both in the pre-trip inspection. And how does he make sure that those problems are solved? So when it gets back on the road and the driver sits again with the CtrlFleet app, he's got a working truck that's going to get him to the next point without any issues. And that's the point, is that the single source of truth is important. Master data and operational tools. Make sure that your team are sitting with the right tool that's relevant to what they're doing, and that they're not jumping between 4 or 5 different tools. Event-driven workflows can then be triggered. That doesn't matter where the data sits, that it triggers the workflow in the system that needs to have that alert triggered. Unified reporting, KPIs across systems. At the end of the day, that then should all bridge into the ERP or the accounting system. ERP is dead, sorry, into the accounting system or into the accounting analysis software, and allow them to be able to see those results and make those decisions, because their team have actually not just captured it onto a whiteboard or used a pencil versus a pen on taking you through a workflow. And that then triggers the automation. Automation, it's been said, I think 3 or 4 times, can only happen if your data is clean, if your data is captured in the right place, and it's carried through to all the right systems so that the job can be done. Then the automation can reduce admin and errors and result in a more efficient, faster, and cost-effective fleet. Cool. Thanks, Rinko.
Hello. I don't know about you, but I'm loving this discussion. It's relevant. And if you're a transport operator, I think this is speaking directly into your business. The goal is measurable outcome. And that is true. I think a lot of the times we get swept up in implementing things because we're not sure why, but there's a need of some sort, and it's worked at a different operator, but we don't really know why we're doing that. So thanks for that, Steve. One thing I also want to echo on is we're also finding that overlap that you speak of, which is in most cases positive, if there is mutual purpose. If you're using multiple applications and there is overlap, that why of that overlap can be addressed if there's mutual purpose. An example of that mutual client we have, exactly what you said. One is made for purpose, for revenue management, the other one's for cost. This is not a negative overlap. Where potentially certain overlaps become complex, and this is a world we're seeing unfold, which we desperately want to avoid, is where transport operators have to overlap their own ability when servicing their clients. Imagine each of your blue chip clients are introducing their own driver app, and you needed to have your drivers use different driver apps to get different versions of the POD to their respective endpoints. That is not necessarily a positive overlap. But if you integrate single point of truth, you have a single driver app, whoever that is, that can give you the result it needs. Integrate, pass the data, both parties remain happy. Positive overlap. Thank you very much. All right, we've got 2 more speakers. So thank you for your patience. Really, I'm really enjoying this. This is a lot of good energy. Next speaker is a Michael Marsh from Zimmy. It's a very exciting phase and stage that when we talk about the EV landscape. I'm not going to try and condense it to that only. That I know you do many in terms of conversions and the infrastructure and the network around it. But top of mind, truly is a pleasure to have you. I know you recently also made a trip from across the borders to be here. So thanks. Very excited to hear what you have to say, Michael.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Ooh, hi. Is that good? Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here. I think, first of all, thank you so much, Rinko and team, for having me. In honor of Rinko, that always looks so dapper in his suit. I also wore a suit jacket today, so I hope I'm doing you justice. But yeah, I think one of the first things that kind of stands out for me today is just seeing all of this innovation that's all locally built. So just congratulations to everybody that's been building digital businesses, focusing on the transport and fleet sector, and really doing an amazing job. I think we can definitely, support local companies and really scale this globally. So just congratulations to everybody that's here. And I think it's just reinvigorating my passion for what I do. So as Rinko said, I'm adding one more acronym to your list, EV, electric vehicles. So we started the company about 5 years ago, really because we saw this massive uptick in electric vehicles globally, but really not a lot of people focusing on really making EVs possible in South Africa. So today I'm really going to try and give you some insights into specifically what we do, but then also how transporters and how fleet operators have been benefiting by actually starting to pilot and test these electric vehicles and the results that they've been seeing. So one of the biggest things that you're going to start facing now, if you haven't already, is carbon compliance. So there's a lot of carbon pressure coming, especially if you're working with European entities, if you have customer or stakeholder demand, if you have governance structures that are really pushing for the E and ESG to be reduced, you're going to be starting to face these pressures, and you're going to start getting these types of requests from your customer contracts to say, you have to give us a zero carbon solution. But we all run businesses. One of the most important things to look after is your bottom line. And if you're looking at things like fuel, obviously it's driving a significant part of your operational expenditure. So we really started Zimi to think about how can we build this end-to-end solution that you as a fleet operator can use to reach this ESG goal, but then also drive down costs, which I think is really the big opportunity when using electric vehicles in your fleets. So looking at electric vehicles, one of the main drivers of cost savings really is the fuel saving. So if you're making the switch from petrol or diesel to electric, you're saving up to 80% when charging on the grid and up to 90% when you're leveraging your existing solar assets. That really feeds the model of your TCO savings. And we're seeing with customers running routes of 150 kilometers plus, they're driving up to 30% total cost of ownership savings. Think about that number, right? 30% savings. That's money that you could be using for new initiatives. It's money that you could be using to compete better in the market. And you can also then leverage the zero carbon or the net zero goal for transportation. So electric vehicles are really the only way that you can take your energy that you're currently using and offset it in a way to really make a significant carbon impact and to make sure that you are carbon compliant for these types of contracts. A significant consideration when deploying these vehicles is really thinking about the risk that you want to be taking, right? So, of course, electric vehicles do have risks. If you think of something like the battery or the battery life, right? There's not always a guaranteed buyback, although some of the OEMs are providing it. So you really want to think of ways that you can open up that cash flow, buy things like fully managed leases or rental options. And that's a great thing about electric vehicles is they really work well when you're starting with these trial periods and seeing how they're performing before you scale this up. So thinking about electric vehicles on the roads, yes, we work with transport operators, and we very much specifically focus on the 4 key parts of what makes an electric vehicle solution possible. The first, of course, our favorite is vehicles, and I'm going to pull up some nice pics of vehicles now of the EVs that are available in the market. But we offer as a channel partner multiple commercially tested electric vehicles. We specifically only work with OEMs where we know that we're going to get and guarantee a cost saving for you on those vehicles. Then we also deploy the charging infrastructure. That's a key consideration. Of course, people always ask, where am I going to charge my vehicle? Because this is in the private space and because you actually control or manage warehousing, depots, etc., a lot of this is within your own control. So you can either leverage your own existing grid connections, or we help actually optimize some of the solar solutions that you've put in place. We've typically worked with customers also where they have seen some overinvestment in solar. They're actually producing too much solar and they want to drive up that utilization. And electric vehicles are a perfect way in which to capture that energy that's otherwise just going to waste. The third part, of course, is energy management and digitization, and that's why we're here today, right? We're thinking about data in a different way, and if you think about electric vehicles, they really provide quite a wealth of data. You've got your energy data from your utility side, so tying into your smart meters, tying into your solar systems, understanding what your solar production is, what your type of yields are. You've got your vehicle data, of course, you've got your telematics data, but the telematics data is becoming even richer, right? You're starting to get a lot of data on what's actually happening in that battery pack. You're seeing what is your consumption of these vehicles. And you're starting to get a lot of insight into how you can predictively maintain the batteries of these vehicles as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, I mean, some of the customers that have been testing this have been trialing typically urban routes. So looking at things that like 150 kilometers up to about 350 kilometers, starting to work with some of the carriers now, starting to push mileage up to about 600 kilometers. But then you have to deliberately plan your charging, of course. You have to make sure that the vehicle can handle that route and can actually deliver on that route within that range. And then also looking at things like your electricity capacity. I mean, we've all lived and suffered through load shedding in the past, but also thinking about how much energy is actually available at your location to be able to run these operations. Again, I don't think this is a good fit for any fleet. I don't think, for example, line haul is there yet. But if you're doing urban routes and you're doing type of milk run style deliveries, then it's definitely a great solution. Digitalization, I think, is key. I think something that's come out of all of the conversations today so far is looking at how you can integrate and how you can partner with all of these various systems. So one of the best things that you should think, one of the things that you should be thinking of that will best service your customers will be how do you actually provide them this data and how do you open that up, right? So thinking of from the electric vehicle data perspective, you're thinking about how do I share my battery state of health and state of charge as I'm busy operating. And that's why we're working with the likes of CtrlFleet to help make that possible. So these types of things like charging schedules and charging availability is also quite critical because that impacts your ETAs. So again, this is not replacing your transport management system. It's enhancing the way that you use that while deploying electric vehicles in fleet. Something critical also is the public charging network, and I think that's where we also think about our partnerships, across the ecosystem. Public chargers is about 250 public chargers in South Africa. Not all of these chargers are accessible to fleet vehicles. Mainly, one of the biggest problems is height restrictions, right, and length restrictions. So again, something by getting the data via your CtrlFleet system to see exactly where you can charge and which charging stations are available are going to be critical for you in terms of planning your routes and planning your daily deliveries. Also, you want to think about your existing partnerships, your automotive relationships, your telematics and tracking relationships, as well as your finance relationships when thinking about how to best deploy this. And luckily, we've been working with the ecosystem really to help make this possible. As I mentioned, I think there's a couple of areas where this is very much applicable. First and third party logistics, of course, it's very, very useful. Field services, if you're doing any types of repairs, maintenance, kind of servicing fleets. Lots of us will be managing or have corporate fleets or sales fleets. We have sales vehicles available. Which is also a good fit. And then also starting to look at employee fleets with some of the people carriers coming out into the market. Let's look at some pictures of cars. This is actually why we're here, right? This is very much just an illustration of which vehicles in the market. I speak to so many people, and they're actually sometimes very surprised to hear that these vehicles are available in South Africa. They're not only available, they're actually running on the road. So a lot of you might have recently been hearing about BYD. They've got great consumer vehicles, but also in the type of sales fleet environment, the BYDs are performing extremely well. The panel vans are excellent. So like Mercedes-Benz, DFSK, Photon have been releasing panel vans in various configurations, in various volume and load configurations, really to make it possible. And I think that's a really important segment for the market currently. And then trucks. A lot of people know that there are electric trucks on our roads. That's from the 1-tonners up to the 4-tonners, the 8-tonners, and then lots of truck tractors and rigids coming out now as well. So again, I think something that's really important to consider here is going to be cost, of course, the capex for these vehicles, but then the opex really being driven down by the fuel. So we really help you to understand what that combination looks like, really help you to see and analyze that before you go to trial with an electric vehicle in fleet. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Messing up the slides. There you go. Cheers.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much, Michael. It is truly an exciting space. I think there's an overwhelming mixed bag of emotions between excitement but questions. And I think if you're comfortable to remain for, but I'm pretty sure they're going to corner you there in the coffee corner. If I may, there is actually a mutual client that we share that you've got on your list, Baker's Transport. And Toby, the operations director, is here today. He's also part of the CtrlFleet Advisory Board. Pretty sure first-hand questions to him in terms of how they navigated, where did they start, what fleet is included in that discussion. I mean, Toby's raising his hand and he's got a big smile. So, yeah, I'm sure that there's another couple of practical questions you can point to him. All right, so Reinhard walked in this morning, was on the red eye, and first thing he said to me is, you are very wise. I said, yes. He said, you kept the best for last. I said, well, you normally bring the energy. So most of you, if you're a transport operator and you are operating in diesel and dust, you will know Reinhard from the truck fuel network. So very glad that you are here. You are speaking directly to one of the core function cost measures that every transporter is managing on a daily basis. And to a degree, I think it's fortunate or unfortunate where many businesses have a very broad list of expenses. In the transport space, 50 to 60% currently of your costs is being managed by platforms like yours. And well done for what you've done. Thanks for being here. Very excited to listen to you. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I actually said walking in to Renke, why do you put me after the EV guy? Because I'm going to come up here and tell you guys I love the smell of diesel in the morning. No. So if I was a guy selling fuel, that would be my opening pitch, but we don't sell fuel, but we facilitate a lot of fuel transactions. And today my goal is to give you guys a little bit of view of what we do at TFN. But also more than that, I think the theme of all speakers has been to give you guys, I think, what we've learned and how you can leverage that in your business and run your business more profitable. So I walked into a very big transporter's office, market influencer the other day, and I asked him, what's your theme for the year? What are you going to do different this year? And he said, I want to go live. I want my business to be live. And I'm like, but what do you mean? You're alive. I'm seeing the trucks. But what do you mean? So he says, no, I want to roll out of my bed and I want to watch a dashboard and I want to have a view of and a temperature of my business. And when I walked into the meeting, he's thought I was going to sell him fuel. Well, let's just get this feed going. But what I told him that we can actually help him make his fuel expenses live, the whole conversation shifted. And so I'm very proud to report that we've been actually live for like 10, 15 years. So it's not like we're starting out on the cardless and codeless world. We've been on that journey. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. Thank you, Renku. Thank you, Mary. It's always a privilege. I think the relationship between me and Renku and Vichard has grown tighter because I think we share love for transporters. I might be young, but I've been 10 years in the transport game and I spend 90% of my time in transport offices. I understand turnaround times. I understand if I put a depot and it's going to cost you money to get that price, it doesn't mean anything to you. And that's why I think one of our biggest secret sources has been we've developed products that you guys want to use and not something that we think is a good idea. So what do we do at TFN? So we're the on-the-road fuel and expense management platform for fleet operators. And if I just carry on, yeah. As Renku rightfully managed, fuel is a big cost driver. But this morning when I thought about fuel landscape, I just want to stop and maybe just focus on what's happening in the world. So as I was sitting there checking my phone, I saw the under recovery of fuel is around R5.50 a liter. So I'm not trying to stand up here and tell you guys to have COVID and the toilet roll effect that we had. But I'm telling you guys that if you could still get fuel today, don't worry, the price, just get it. So things are moving quick in the industry. I don't think outdated data serves you anymore. I don't think getting your data even 2 days after the fact is helping you anymore. You need in a position where you get not only flat file data, but you need the opportunity to have this data pushing and pulling into your world. So the great thing is I look at a couple of these faces and you're very familiar. And so one of the customers in the room, in the last year, they've been with us. They saved over 2 million rand on their fuel bill, not because the price alone, but because of the impact we've had on the data, the centralization of operating system. So I think one of the speakers mentioned that there used to be like, I've got a car to pay on the road and then I've got something managing the home base. And what we've actually done at TFN is we've given you guys the same technology. So in our world, if you refuel on the road or you refuel at your home base, even if you don't even buy the fuel from us, we're going to give you the same operating procedure and same data feed. So when you wake up in the morning, back to the guy who wants to go live, he can actually see what happened on his fuel yesterday. Next day, he's live, he can make his decisions. Let's go forward, yeah. All right. So a recent case study, I just love sharing this stuff with you guys. A transporter spent about 4,500 liters in a week, which is not a lot. It's not a big fleet. But in just 7 days, he saved 13,000 rand. It happened because of a connected infrastructure. So one of the common things I run into when I pitch to a lot of transporters is they'll tell me they've got a price. and that's great. I think we're very fortunate that the fuel landscape in South Africa has changed. Tell you guys to be very mindful. Not all prices is good as it seems. And I think maybe the other thing that I'll just say is we did a cost comparison for a customer. So we saved them 47 cents. And then a year later, we do the same cost comparison for the customer, and it's actually 87 cents. So I'm not sure where there's unsustainability in pricing to customers. But if you wanted to know a peg, which you should be pegging your diesel against, it's the diesel zone list price. So if you're getting any price from anyone, I would just use that from the DME and check the agreed prices, check that you're consistently being billed that price, and that's where your true north is. Right. If your fleet leaks 1 rand per liter, how much are you losing this year? I think before I want to get there is I want to actually just ask you a question. What is your theme for your business this year? I know I'm in the right room because a lot of serious faces looking at me now, probably looking at turnaround times and the driver didn't go to the right place. I feel you. I hear you. Toby is nodding. So I'm taking that as I'm on the right place. But if it's survival, which I get all the time, is just to survive, maybe this year it's to survive with having a live decision-making capability. And coming back to fuel, that's what you have the privilege of. 50% of your cost sits in fuel. So I think if you make that a very clear target this year that you want to make your fuel management live, I think you pretty much very good to go. I just want to carry on with the business case. So I think I made the point. It's a lot of money being saved. So what does a connected ecosystem look like? So we're also celebrating 20 years. Harry, TFN 20 years. So we started with 2 depots. Today we have 270 depots across Africa. We've got about 25,000 trucks on our platform. We do about 45 million liters of fuel a month. But over time, we've expanded our ecosystem. We got involved in truck wash. We got involved in overnight. Now, you guys might be asking, why is that important? Okay. So glad you asked. Okay, let's first go to the network again. Sorry. Last year, we had 108 sites. Listen now, please. This is for my very good transport friends. We had 108 sites that wanted to join the TFN network, but we only accepted 40. And so if we wanted to be the biggest network, and that was a metric one drive, I think we can do that. But what we actually want to become is the best network, that we vet our sites. I'm like you guys. When I hear price of a customer, I run to that depot and like, please, Pits on the water, can we put you on our TFN network? I want our customers to get that price. However, it's been my experience. I come to some of these sites because one of our processes before you can come on the TFN network is we need to test your site. I come there and I can't get a test. So needless to say, a lot of these sites don't join our network because of fuel quality. But also another maybe a vetted problem is we used to do the plot and pump network. So what that means is you will have a guy with a one pump and whatever, but we can't do it. The sheer scale we're putting through sites, 60 to 70% of even the big majors volumes at a site, it doesn't fit our model anymore. And I don't think it fits the driver's model anymore. A driver doesn't want to come there and refuel and go. He wants to come there, be refreshed, gets his smart text phone from all the fancy apps you heard about, see how he's managing his KPIs. And so our refueling environment and our goal is completely different. So we have 260 sites, strategically positioned. We negotiate on your behalf. And I think the one thing that I want to highlight here is we've got spend rules built into our platform. So for example, one of the things that I experienced over the last 10 years in the industry is you've got maybe a selected site and a non-selected site, or a site where you get a discount and a site where you don't get a discount. And it's very hard to get drivers to execute where you get the discounts. So if you look at what we did, we tell you as a transport owner, you got the control. Wherever you get the benefit on pricing, you issue a refuel instruction, and that behavior of savings will come into your bottom line. So because our experience, it doesn't matter if you've got a price, but it never comes into your bottom line. So if you actually look at what we've built, and that's why I like the EV guy, I think we've got good chats later, is we're a transaction management platform. We do it without transaction costs. You can use our platform in transact. I give you a rand price. If you want to go to Botswana or Zim or wherever, you're going to pay a rand price. I protect you against currency cost. I protect you against foreign currency fluctuations. So if you look at what we've built, this is actually an amazing transaction platform that we leverage on your behalf. Right, I spoke about that. Let's quickly under this. Don't know why it's blurring. All right. So myself and our CEO, we sat with Renku when one of our first meetings. And I told him, Renku, the only reason why I'm talking to you today is because I think you're a good salesperson. And I like that. And secondly, is because I can see our customers will spend a lot more time on your platform than on our platform. Because why do I say that? When I come into any transporter's office, you see screens of fleet where their trucks are running and their TMS systems. And then I said, okay, well, our data shows a guy only spends 10 minutes on average on TFN. But if he's in his TMS world, I don't want to create friction. If he's doing route planning, whatever, it's the same principles. Let him do a refuel instruction. And that's why I think the integration worked for us and some of the other partners sitting here. Let's talk about accounting. All that I want to say on that is we actually built a general ledger that you can just, any accounting system, you can just straight, no more capturing of any diesel transaction should happen in today's age. Please use your people for something else, not capturing data. I think we've proven ourselves with that credibility. Maybe I'll go a little bit on this one. Fines and licensing might be a weird one. Why are we getting involved in this? Well, our goal is, like I said, is any expense that you might incur on the road. So our experience has been transporters are very good, especially the big ones, to procure big discounts at their home base. But the moment they go to maybe a new route or whatever, it's friction. They don't trust the environment they need to refuel in. They don't trust the price. They don't trust that legit transactions are happening. And I feel like it's the same principles applied to fines and licensing. Why we like this company, why we partners with, is they do all the heavy lifting for you. They make sure your vehicle's compliant so it doesn't need to be off the road. Truck wash. I know there's big compliance if you need to transport multiple commodities. So you need to prove to the customer that your bin is clean. And that's usually like the guy loses the slip or whatever. Into the platform, we've built like proof of clean bin, if you wanted to call that. And you can just send that to your customer as you're loading, and in real time, you can move the trucks. Overnight truck parking. I just want to tell you guys the use case we have for this one. It's quite interesting. I think you need to pay attention. So we always facilitated overnight transactions, always. But then, like everything, if you really get involved and you zone in on an ecosystem expense, you get new learnings. And so you might ask, what was the learnings? Well, the learnings was we made our route planner live. So we show a customer where you can get fuel, truck wash, and overnight in a platform, right? And we get a phone from the customer. So he says, well, the moment you made that platform live, I realized something was wrong because your site says it's 50 Rand for overnight, but for the last year, I've been paying 200 Rand at that same site. So what you guys must hear, it's a legit transaction. It's going through, but because of whatever transpired at the forecourt, that customer is then being billed incorrectly. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We spoke about predictability, visibility. We're putting all the expenses in front of you. You can make informed decisions. We actually want to pivot our route planner and call it a spend planner, because if you really think that's what we're trying to give you guys, the ability to plan spending. So that's a very exciting journey for us. Right, so I'm going to bring it together for us. Real time, I don't think there's no time like real time. And if your solution is not that, please speak to me or speak to people like me. It reduces leakage and improves predictability. Connection is not a feature, it's a multiplier. And I really believe this. The future of our industry will not belong to the biggest fleets. It will belong to the most connected ones. Thank you very much.
Well, isn't that just a mic drop moment on that quote alone? And I think that's sort of just taking together Reed today and how, you know, where this all belongs. So you had me there at plot en pomp. So just if you can just direct translate a bit later for me, but it made me think of a story also quite recently. We, like you mentioned, had that integration between the two applications went live, and I sat in a meeting yesterday with a client in Potchefstroom, and they also threw a couple of strong Afrikaans, tongue twisters, but in a positive way of showing how certain integrations, when the network effect comes into play, really is practical, makes a practical difference, and it really makes that multiply effect real. So we are ahead of schedule. The canapes are heating up. The coffee is ready to roll. But before we do that, we just want to end off with a little bit of fun. So we've got a live poll, and I know all the people online have diligently been waiting for this because they can also now see Harry's nice movable gadgets as he runs into the audience, but also give away some prizes. Before I do that, Esther did remind me there might be some questions, and I'm pretty sure that some of you are going to not stay for the network because you have to get back to those busy offices. So I'm going to allow, if you allow me, Harry, any questions on the floor for any of the speakers in terms of the topics that was raised that you feel maybe it's relevant for most to hear, and that's hence you want to air it here, and also maybe online, Harry, if we can allow that.
Thank you, Rinko. Let's first take questions from the in-person audience. You can put up your hand. Please keep it short, and you can ask a question. Identify yourself when you ask a question. I'll approach you with a microphone and a camera.
Oh, there we go at the back there, Harry.
This is for TFN. I just want to find out if your SANRail toll gates is integrated into your system. And then Zimmy, next is, are you integrated into the CtrlFleet platform similar to the TFN?
Sorry, did he identify himself?
Toby from Bakers.
Thanks, Tim. Harry, I can pass on this mic. Hold on. Dovetail.
I want to be. I think I mentioned the concept of real time. So those of you who have been customers a long time, you will know that we had Standard Bank fleet cards at one time that we facilitate. We just do it digitally now. But what used to happen is we would get a file from your toll transactions, but it would be after the fact. And then some of you guys will go to your farms or whatever, and you had the budget ready for the fuel, and then that toll transaction comes through and there's no money. And I just couldn't take the swearing anymore. So until we can get a live integration, I think then we'll settle that pony again.
I think there's a question, yeah?
Thanks, Rico. Hi, Toby. Yes, short answer in progress. I think come and corner Vigata myself with the canapes and we can give you a bit more detail on that. But yeah, planning on integrating.
Thank you. We've got a question here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoons. My name is Bayanda from Road Ahead Publication. I think this is for TFN. With the rise on fuel costs and fuel operations, what strategies can fleet operators implement to improve their profitability?
I think a starting point is just to go on our platform and see the differences on the different pricing on a route. So let me give you examples, sir. If you're traveling from Joburg to Cape Town, the popular refuel point is Beaufort West, right? Everyone in the room knows it. They stop there with their cars. But for a transport, it's actually the wrong refuel because 50 kilometers down the road is a town called Prince Albert. But why is that important? Well, it's important because you'll save 15 cents per liter just on that decision. And I think maybe the starting point is just getting the view of pricing in the country on the route. And I think that will be my first advice because it represents 50% of the operating cost.
Hello. Good.
Thank you.
Are we warming up? Here we go. Chris, if you don't mind just identifying yourself.
Hi, I'm Chris from CtrlFleet, spin out of Stellenbosch University doing EV fleet transition planning. I really loved what someone said that Excel spreadsheets are their biggest competitor. Are there any other challenges with, you know, this international market coming in and competing in this software space? Yeah, open to anyone to answer.
Jeff, he's keen. Thanks, Harry. We're making you walk around on your birthday.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that South Africans underestimate themselves is how good we actually are. If you look at the success of South Africans overseas, I won't say Elon Musk is one of the best people we've exported, but I think the type of people, the Shuttleworths, the people that have done things in the world and how they've achieved things. South African software, because we've had to make do with very little, is actually a lot more strong than a lot of the overseas infrastructures and capabilities. One of the things about one of the products, and just to give you an example, it's been in the market for 30 years and it came to South Africa only 6 years ago, Sage Intacct. And they were so proud of their check functionality because their banking system in the US is so outdated, the checks are so important to them. So you actually have a huge opportunity as a South African business that thinks differently and thinks globally. There's opportunity everywhere. So I don't think it's a negative. I think it's a positive, and we've got great opportunities, South Africans.
Good. Any other questions on site? Good one online. Oh, yes, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Toto Nzobi. I represent a company which is related to my city bus operators. My question is for the CEO of Zimi. I just want to check if being in the EV business, have you ever have synergy with companies like Golden Arrow that has been running over 120 electric buses, and with their operation of the solar charging these buses? Thank you.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for that question. Yeah, the bus space is very interesting. We're seeing the likes of Gabs, and I know my city also recently announced a tender, I think, with the Volvo buses coming into country soon. So it's great to see those vehicles coming part of fleet. But yeah, you highlight a very critical part, which is the solar energy, which has to be integrated. I think what solar gives you the ability to do is actually really to control your own pricing. So you're not beholden to the grid pricing for electricity. You also can guarantee the carbon reduction, of course, and you can also deploy at any site. So you don't have to wait for municipal approvals, etc., for getting grid upgrades. So I think solar integration is critical, and yes, we do integrate that with the charging infrastructure. So luckily, what's great about electric vehicle chargers is they're built to be interoperable, so they can use either grid or solar or any form of electricity that you supply them. So yeah.
Good. Any other questions on site? So I've got a question online from Charles Day, and I think this is something that sits in the back of most of us listening to digitalization discussions. That is great tools, very relevant training. How do I get my people trained? How do I get the rest of my work staff empowered into this space? And I think, Stephen, if I may bring you in here, I think you play in a global space where you see that in different markets play out. The golden thread is, change management that you all know. Do you want to maybe help elaborate on how you've embarked on that global journey to get users to utilize tech and get that training and etc.?
When it comes to training, also especially on global and across Africa, you've got to use absolutely everything at your means. There's no one single way. Obviously, the best way of training people is to actually use the product and to get them to use that. But it's about reach. I mean, nobody always sits in one place, especially if you've got a transporter, he's got distributed depots. So whoever's using the tech, you've got some people sitting in the office, some people sitting in the cab. So you use electronic means, you use videos, you use on-site face-to-face, and it differs from a technical perspective to a user perspective. So, but again, there's nothing like actually getting them to use the system, which means the system's got to be usable. So what you build into the system needs to almost train the person through usage. It's like I say to somebody is, you never ever have to train somebody to teach a website when they land on it. And that's because the websites are intuitive. So we have to build our software as intuitive as we could possibly get it so that you reduce the training and you increase the speed to value.
Completely concur. Well put. No other questions online? Before we close off with questions, go into the fun part and then enjoy the canapes and more coffee. Any other questions on site? All right. So obviously, I've seen most of you make notes. I love that part. We're a digital business and we hand out paper and pens, and you all enjoy that. So those that you've made those notes, we're going to do a poll. There will be one question that's pertaining every presentation. And then we're going to hand up some prizes. Those online, we will get it to you. And I promise we have. Last year, Harry had extremely nice pens, and those that won online did get their pens, and one was based in France. So I promise you they will reach you somehow. So there's a very cool app that you have to, or link you have to go into. Minzy?
I'm just putting it up on the screen now.
Go.
Just bear with me.
Some of you have obviously been to events where they do this. This is very fun. We put a question online. You are all going to be having your apps on your phones and you're going to vote. And we're going to see a live cast of the vote results. There's a time cap for you to ponder about. And the prize, Harry, help me, is the first on the trigger, isn't it? By answering.
The quickest.
Yeah, the quickest to answer the correct answer will get one of these goodie bags. Just to give you a teaser. If you're a transport operator in the room, you're definitely going to want to pick your best driver for this branded windscreen. You yourself on the weekends, and I know Peter from number one online is going to wear his branded mountain bike socks from now on. And then some of these other goodies, books and pens, etc. So yeah, please let's get the poll going so we can enjoy those canopies. All right. Everybody
so
online and on site.
Can I continue?
Yes.
So you can either scan that code, or you can type in, if you go to menti.com, you can type in that code, or you can scan that QR code. All right, and the system most probably will prompt you for your name. It's important to put in your name, please. Your name and maybe the first letter of your surname or so. Maybe there might be more than one Harry or whatever. So your name and the first letter of your surname. And then we're going to go to the next slide. Let me just see. Quite a number of people have joined. Let's go to the next slide. Question 1 of 5. All right, we're going to start the quiz. Answer quickly to get more points. What is the first domino to fall for the compounding network effect to start?
It's not easy questions, you have to pay attention.
So 19 were correct. That is safety. So let's look at the leaderboard.
So many alias names. So I will.
Metal was faster. Whoever metal is.
Metal on site, I think. Online, obviously.
There's metal.
Online. Okay, right. So you have got the first gift coming your way, Metal, if you can still hear us, if you're there. This is a PowerFleet tote bag. Beautiful. Thank you for sponsoring. So let's put this one down. Let's do the next. The next one is a gift from Tideco.
Right, let's go to the next slide. Metal, if we can't find you, please send us a message in the chat room so that we can know who Metal is, because we don't know who's Metal. So in the chat room, kindly say, I'm Metal and this is my name, so that we can follow up. Okay, next one. Question 205. Here we go. What does the strongest networks share? Okay.
And quickest on the trigger. The suspense is killing me, Harry. Is it a draw?
Let's go to the leaderboard and see what's happening there.
Do we go leaderboard or do we go to the previous polls results? Oh, is this the...
This is now the latest.
Okay.
Casper. Who's Casper here?
Casper, are you on site? Dolph? Dolph Casper. Well, we can't give you that award, so unfortunately you second. Carl Gustav, are you here?
Carl Gustav, yeah.
Did you... There we go. Well, here's your gift. This is a tied go, and I've been told there's a voucher inside here, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, next question. This gift is sponsored by Fleet It. It's a cooler box. Traveled all the way from Durban. It feels very heavy. I wonder if there's a couple of cold ones in here. Next question, Harry.
Let's start it. Question 305.
Sorry, Dolph. We'll make up at the office.
What is the estimate percentage of system usage for fleet maintenance clients?
Hard questions, huh? Oh, good. All right. Who's going to take away this hamper? The cold ones inside. If there's no cold beverages in here, can they call you? Do you? Okay.
Leaderboard. Flippy.
Yeah, but is it really Casper again? Okay, yeah. No, so I did not share the slides at office. All right, Clippy, are you here on site? Online, I assume. Okay, Clippy, wherever you are, we're sending you this cool cooler bag. You can just respond to claim your prize. Okay, next up,
Right.
and this, yes, sorry, Harry.
Next slide then.
We're hungry, Harry. Canapes are waiting for us. The following two gifts are CtrlFleet hampers. This is the one, Peter, number one, that you have to answer because the cycling socks are in here. And the next question.
All right, the next question. Here we go. How far can EVs drive without charging?
Michael, call a friend. Okay. Huh. Not more than 200. Okay. And around 550, sure. Okay, let's see who's taking away this
Leaderboard. Let's
gift.
look.
Feels like we are looking at a continuous leaderboard versus the poll. Okay, sorry. Russell's here.
Whereas Lawrence, the fastest was Lawrence Urendal.
Oh, apologies. I had to look here. Apologies, Russell. Laurie is here at the back, also from Johannesburg this morning. Thanks, Laurie. And I know you also cycle. Good, Larry.
Thank you, sir.
Lekker. Lawrence is also a partner and integration friend of CtrlFleet for many years. Right, last question. Also a CtrlFleet goodie bag.
Right, let's start a question. How many vetted sites do TFN manage?
Remember, Reinhard was boasting about that for a bit. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who's taking away this prize?
Leaderboard.
So I think the fastest on that round was the Boaty.
Boaty.
And then obviously we have an
Boatface.
overall winner, but Boaty, are you here?
Boaty McBoatface. There he is.
You should claim that with shocked. Cheers. Thanks. All right. Harry, you obviously have to give Metal a roundup. He or she was the overall best participant, right? Okay. We do have a lucky draw. This is only for the on-site members, which we will do after we say goodbye to our online crowd. Just wanted to make sure I'm not missing anything. Good, let's bring it home. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Harry, thank you for all your effort coming down to the Cape. And especially all of you and those online, very conscious of you also taking a lot of time in your busy morning. The network effect is now. The perfect storm is real. And the opportunity for you to embrace technology in your life stage, wherever that is yours to take. Thank you for the speakers sharing your wisdom and experience. Those takes years to build up, and 15, 20, 30 minutes doesn't do justice to how much you actually are contributing into the industry and making it a better place and helping operators to execute like never before. For you on site, the rest of the activities, canapes, coffee, there are other soft drinks also available from the back. Thank you for being here and participating and making this, for us as CtrlFleet, something that remains top of mind and worthwhile. And that is, how can we help you digitize and execute like never before? Thank you very much. Online, Harry,